Hi, everyone. Welcome to End of Life Conversations and Reflections. Today, my guest is Teza. She's an Akashic Records healer, a nurse, a medium, a best-selling author of several best-selling books, and much, much more. The death of her son Theo by suicide was the darkest night of her soul. In today's conversation, we will hear from Teza about her experience and how she navigated through enormous trauma and ultimately became a guide to others going through the same soul journey. Teza's immense courage and shifts in perspectives came through Akashic downloads. These downloads illuminated her soul contract with her son Theo, who ended his life by suicide. Since her trauma, she has also written a book called The Collective Awakening. I'm sure this will also be a bestseller, and I can't wait to read it. We're going to do a part 2, and we're going to be discussing her book, The Collective Awakening. Join us for this powerful interview with this mystic, this healer, mentor, friend, soul sister, and a guide to me and so many. Thank you, Teza, for finally being available from your busy schedule to connect with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much, Zara. I'm so excited to be with you and the collective, and happy Thanksgiving to all Canadians.
Absolutely, yes. This is 11 a.m. we're doing this, so I think it's really timely, and I think you said when the time is right we'll do it, and here we are. So I'm really interested because a lot of your experiences are actually around death and dying.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know a little bit about when you were growing up, was there a death or dying experience that stands out for you?
Yes, it's actually my own death. So it's I had a near-death experience, NDE, which is I had diphtheria when I was 2 years old. And during that time in the hospital, I had a vivid experience. I saw my mom carrying my body.
Okay.
And my two brothers running in the hallway at the
So like
same.
you were outside your body, kind of watching down.
Yeah, I was watching my mom and my body, and I was only 2.
Right.
And my mom was on the phone. You know, she told me the story about she was on the phone calling the family to bring the money because I died. And the nurses ran to her and said, "I'm back. I am alive."
Oh my gosh.
You didn't even know that.
Wow. So you started your whole journey in this world by through death.
Yeah.
So you rebirthed at the age of 2 kind of thing.
Yes.
And in regards to that experience, you were 2 years old. Do you remember it?
Yes, I remember vivid vision because our cells have memory.
Yeah.
We're like computer data bank. So basically, my cell remembered the vision when I went back into my body, and so my childhood is full of mysticism. Like I could see a spirit floating in my room, and my grandmother spirit, like even the dress, the way she looks, it's so vivid. At 9 years old, that's when my full like a third eye awaken and open.
Wow.
And yeah.
At
That's
9 years old. Yeah, so you've been seeing people who have died come visit you, or have you had like you said, your grandma, you saw her, but she had passed over?
yes.
Okay.
And my
And
cousin.
and your cousin?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. At 9 years old, I just can't imagine. Were you scared, or were you just like, oh, this is so cool? It was just part of your experience and you didn't question it?
I question everything. That's why my parents couldn't keep up with me. I have a lot of questions when I was growing up until now. That's actually the basis of my knowledge. Keep asking questions.
Right.
Because you will receive, right? So I remember as a child, because I grew up with a huge tribe. I have 6 brothers and 3 sisters.
Okay.
And I literally grew up with 25 people in our home.
Wow.
We lived in a huge home, like 7 bedroom. So my mother is a very hardworking woman. She was a chef and she created a restaurant business to feed all of us and my cousins. She
Wow.
was the matriarch.
Wow.
And so I get a lot of different feedbacks. So like my father is very attuned to me. Like he was an opera singer, you know,
Oh, wow.
musician. Yeah. So I hear classical music in our home. It reverberates because I grew up with artists. Like my brother drew murals in our living room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I grew up in a fantasy with arts.
Wow. No wonder you get all these different ways of information. Like I'm always fascinated by how you get your information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just also curious, like in your culture or when you were growing up, was there any rituals around death and dying? Like, do you remember a death or attending a funeral? And were there any practices that are different from how you would do them here, related to maybe culture, religion, family practices?
Yeah, in the Philippines, we celebrate death with music
Mhm.
and a huge feast, a lot of food. So for 1 week, well, this is the old time. So I'm thinking about 1970s, right? Now it's a totally different scenario because I went there when my father passed away. It's like it's a 1 week celebration and people just come and laugh. We have music and we celebrate death. And every November 1st, which is coming up, is the celebration of the dead, the soul. This, you know, we come and bring food in the cemetery.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, so we acknowledge death of our beloved, and we have a tradition like the children, when their parents or their grandparents died, they will be passing the body of the child over the coffin.
Oh,
Yeah. And also they will be wearing red blanket over their head or when they're sleeping.
wow.
Yeah, because the belief is they will not be grieving. They will not be afraid of death.
Wow, this whole celebration of life thing seems to have come to the West. Like people are starting to get into like celebrating it a bit
Yeah.
more. But we're more ingrained in the fear around death and dying, our culture. So like this is why we're having this conversation, is so that people can have those conversations and maybe have a little shift in perception around death and dying.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really interesting. And then as you were growing up and you became an adult, I understand you're obviously the sad loss of your son, Theo.
Mm.
Um, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, before Thea's death, I became a nurse. So around 27, I'm a nurse, 28 years, but now a casual. So when I was working 8 years of night shift,
Yeah.
literally wrote down the names of the people that died when I was there beside them. So I had 100 or more people that died when I'm there. So I just really felt this immense love, and the soul fills the room. And I was so basic. Like I was just saying, follow the light. Don't be afraid of dying. Your loved ones are waiting for you. Even the comatose patients, they actually open their eyes and smile at me.
So you were guiding them to the
I
other,
was
to the other
them
life.
to, and even the nurses on night shift will call me basically, Teza, can you come and help this patient? And I will go and release the soul.
Wow. I wish I had written down all the patients that had like while you know I was in hospice and stuff, because
Yeah.
I often think about them and I wish I had written down all the names, but over 100 people you've helped transition. So
Yes.
death and dying is part of your life
It's a part of
now.
my, it's like then I realized, oh, I don't need to write their names because I know this is my calling. And recently I was in a new vista for 4 months during COVID. I'm very brave. I have no fear. I have no fear of disease or death at, you know, because I already passed this dimension. So what is there to fear? Right? We're eternal. And so one patient, I took him to the garden because I was taking care of mentally ill, challenged people. And Ken, I always bring him to the garden after like after 2 o'clock or something like that. And he asks for my book. He reads my book and crystals beside his bed. And when I left, he actually died. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I have his picture in my fridge because we're so close. Yeah, it's such a beautiful time when you are called to just show up and be
Yes.
there for the soul, right?
I have
So
a similar feeling like when I'm around someone that's dying, I feel so honored.
yes,
Yeah, it's just like, wow, I get to be part of this and be there for you. Like sometimes it's strangers, right? Like I don't know them, or it's like
yeah,
a patient that just came in yesterday. Um, and as a doula, sometimes you're called to be around people you haven't met before or haven't had a time to build rapport. But I'm like, how is it that like we're all connected and I feel like that, you know, there's like I'm called to do that for you in this moment. We must have some connection, right?
it is a contract, yeah, sacred contract.
Yeah.
So
So
let's go, Theo.
yeah, absolutely. So with all that, like lots of death and dying, you being around that, helping people, not being afraid, you ended up having your own personal, really traumatic loss.
Yes, yes. So this is November 24, 2017. On November 21st, because what happened is he asked for help. He asked me to open his Akashic records. He asked for healing the night before the accident.
Before
So
you go further, I
yeah,
know there's lots of people that if you can say in a couple of sentences, what is the
yeah.
Akashic records? I think people would be really love to be interested in knowing that. So
So Akashic records came from the word, a Sanskrit word, 2,000 years old. Akash, ether, sky, or primordial substance before anything becomes a form. It is a blueprint
okay.
before it manifests in our world. So we are in the world, in the physical, and the Akash is the primordial substance of what is your soul's journey. So it is a huge, oh, we're having an echo. Do you hear it?
No.
No, I heard it. It is a huge, kind of like a library of your soul
Okay.
where everything was recorded. So all our thoughts, our intentions, our emotions, our words, our actions are recorded interactively with what you're doing right now. So you keep evolving and you keep interacting with this vibration of your soul.
Okay.
That's why, yeah, that's why it's huge. It's a study. I never stopped studying the Akash. Right now I'm really in my kind of like mastery. Every month I teach Akashic record.
Yeah. I've taken your classes. Yeah.
Yes,
They're
yes,
amazing. Yeah. And your book, the Cosmic Soul, I've actually worked through it and opened my records and amazing what came out from that. So yeah. So from that, Theo used to ask you to open his records from time
yeah.
to time. Yeah.
I opened his records a lot of times.
Okay.
So everything that I taught was in his records. So he was like my number one student because we lived together for 33 years.
33.
Yeah, master number, yeah.
I
And I
can't remember. Yeah.
told him, Theo, this is your mastery year. And he says to me, Mom, Jesus died when he was 30.
Wow.
There was a lot of sign that
Yeah.
he was going through. And the most profound sign was at 4:30 in the morning. Remember, he asked me to do his Akashic records the night.
The night before?
Yeah, at 4:30 in the morning, he was standing beside me. He was still alive.
Okay.
I woke up and I said, Theo, what are you doing? I saw his light out of his body. Yeah, so he was already transitioning. And he was able to kiss me and hug me. He says, I love you so much, Mom. We have the most profound goodbye.
He was
And
physically there at 4:30 in the morning, over your bed, hugging
yeah,
you.
and I was scared. I called my ex-husband, Ted, and Tristan, and I said to them, Theo needs someone. Because I couldn't stay home. I wanted to stay home, but I'm a teacher nurse as well. So I was doing a practicum with this student, and it was her first day. So, you know, you have the integrity to show up. You're a teacher.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I said to Theo, I will come back and I will bring you to emergency for, like a psych test, because he was on a very high stress, delusional state. But during the time when I went to work, I was texting him the whole time. He texted me back, I love you, Mom, I love you. And at lunchtime, he stopped responding to me. So I called him, and that was the time he got hit by a truck. Yeah. A 5-foot Freightliner.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh.
Yeah. And I had, we've done investigation. That's how we knew that it was a mental breakdown, because he took off his clothes and he ran towards the truck. But the blessing of the incident was he went into coma, but his skull was open, fractal like fracture, and the doctor gave us 2 that he would live. So we had this huge meeting, right, with the doctors. I was in shock the whole time. Tiffany, my daughter, is our strong God warrior. I said, Tiffany, you have to handle everything, right? Like, I can't. I was listening to the doctor giving the and we chose organ donation. So he had 2 kidneys, liver, and lungs alive in 4 people's body.
Wow. So there's 4 people out there with his organs that are alive because of him.
Yeah. He was a warrior. He was a hero.
Absolutely.
And the beauty of this is there's 100 of people or more that came into ICU, the ICU unit in the hospital, Royal Columbia Hospital. Like the janitor of the school that he went to, St. Thomas More, brought food, trays of food to feed the people. Yeah. And what we did was we let them write letters to Theo saying goodbye. And the only people that are in the room was me, Ted, Tiffany, and Tristan for 2 days. And at the end of his hour, I wanted to respect my family's grieving on, private. But Theo was telling me, Mom, open the portal. So I did. I never in my dream that I would bring my son's soul to ascend to meet the archangels and God. So I asked his soul, I asked Azrael and Archangel Jeremiah to be on his side. I asked Metatron to open his book of life. He had the life review. And when it was time, I just bow to God, the universe. And Tiffany was holding his hand, and she said, Mom, he left. It's the most blessed experience I've ever had in my life to bring Theo to God. And even his name is God. Theo is God, right? It's so paradoxical.
I don't even know what to say as a mother, like having to Well, the gift to being able to do that, first of all, but then being the person that did that is a gift. And I don't even still know how you were able to do that in that moment. That must have taken so much courage.
Yeah. The whole time I was not here. I wasn't in my body. Okay, so I have this gift of leaving my body.
Okay.
So every trauma as a human being, my soul just leaves. So in the times of sexual rape, I leave. In the times of abortion, they were scraping my uterus without anesthesia, I left. So my human body can tolerate pain because my soul is not in here. So I'm in the ether. I'm in the Akash.
And when you're there, are
I
you
am,
feeling more supported?
when I'm in the sky, when I'm in the ether, I have no pain of being human. So it's like a gateway for me to survive humanity, being a human. Because in the ether, I have no pain, I have no suffering. So then I come back once the trauma, um, once the consciousness of my human DNA receive a download of information, because I received the download after 1 week of his cremation. So I couldn't sleep. So it took us, okay, so he died November 24. It took us December 7th to celebrate his life. I don't know why. I think it's because of the people coming from Los Angeles and all these things that we have to wait before we celebrate his life on December 7th. But after the celebration, 1 week, I couldn't sleep. And I slept in the couch where he used to sleep. So this apartment is my sanctuary with Theo. This is his apartment. This is the time we were together. So I was lying down, and I got woken up around 4 or 3, and his soul gave me the soul contract, the agreement that, okay, so his soul chose to be a son to my life.
Yeah.
And he took the same karma of sex abuse. When he was 3 years old, he was sexually abused, because that's the same karma that I had when I was a child. So for how many years of counseling, I thought I was bringing a son that's broken because he was sexually abused. But that lessons, that healing was actually for my inner child, to heal my inner child, because I was sexually abused. So I became a healer because of Theo. And that was the biggest picture of his sacred contract with me. And even now, because the soul is eternal, he is still guiding me where to go. He speaks in my left ear, very vivid, very strong. When I'm driving, he comes. He's always with me. His cat is with me, Gaia, his cat. And because I, as a medium, I was asking, I actually have a friend, he's a doctor, but he's a mystic. So he helped me through all this trauma. So I said to Dr. Rukavina, I don't know why I'm receiving Theo's message so clear, like it's coming from Earth. Because when I receive messages from my mom, it's coming from a different dimension, because the organ has Theo's consciousness.
Yeah.
So the frequency
It's
is,
earthly realm. Wow. This is, wow. So much. So deep.
mm,
I don't think I've ever met anyone with an experience like yours where you're able to just know he's there and connecting with you and communicating with you.
always communicating, never left,
Yeah.
never left. So the body disintegrated and left 4 organs. And he was born on the 4th because his favorite number is the 4. 4.
Stability, harmony.
Yeah. And he knew he was passing by. He knew he was, because, okay, very genius, right? As a child, he could read at 3 years old, Farmer's Grover. I thought he was joking. He said he came to me at 3 years old. Mom, I could read this book. I'm like, huh? And then he did. His memory is so precise. It's so amazing. He became a financial advisor. He didn't even touch college.
Wow.
The bank just really was blown away. They put him to school. He passed chief financial analysis, like a hard test. But the mind, this is the thing. I asked God, what's the difference between me and Theo? Why I survived the sex abuse and all these things? Because with Theo's blueprint, his ego, his mind consumed him. That he will be able to heal himself by being on top of finances, because he wanted to be a magnet, like a billionaire, to help the poor, to help me and Tiffany. He has a huge vision, but his strength and power, he put it on his mind that he could do this, not on divine will. That's the difference between me and him. I put my life in divine will, not on my mind, because my mind is a trickster.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't live in the illusion of ego. And that is the coming book. The Collective Awakening is about how to navigate through the chaos and the egoic stance of humanity, the illusions that we are living in, the fear. And that's the contract that I have with Theo. I had to die. I had to die to my ego to break open my heart and be consumed by the surrender to God, because I cannot take the pain of losing my son. So I had to totally surrender this life. Every little thing that comes to me, I had to totally surrender. It's not mine. Even the life of my child is not mine. So that is the space of total surrender. People don't know that we are in the fog. You know, the clients that come to me, I cry for their ignorance. Like I am bedazzled. Like, you know, how ignorant the human beings can be. How we can hurt your own husband, how you can hurt your own self. How ignorant can we be? That love is the most powerful force in the universe. You are here in this body because of the magnificence of your soul. You are not here to be small. This is the ignorance of humanity. But the huge expansion of your soul is in divine's hand, right? Like that's the biggest lesson that he gave me, that time is gold, Mom. You are a priority. You know, Theo would not leave you if you don't get, like if I'm talking to Theo, like for example, one person, like a good friend of mine, was trying to get me into this finances. You know, she'll give me 5,000 and I would be a part of the pyramid and people will just earn 40,000. Theo was so pissed off at me. He didn't leave all day. He says, yeah, he said, stop it. He says to me, Mom, this person is coming to you because you are famous. And look, if you got 40,000 and the other people that you've put in this group did not receive their money, what is your integrity? Where is your priority, Mom?
Wow.
And I had to say no to that girl. And I'm sorry. I said, I'm sorry. My son is my financial advisor. And really, he's my integrity. Like, yeah. So when we talk, you know, like family gatherings, like people just say, you know, for some reason, it's like a gossip, right? if you're talking to about someone, you know what he says to me? Mom, I don't want to listen. That's gossip. So, authentic, like he will kick your ass if you don't listen and get it. He's this person. Every contract, all of his friends came, like 13 of them, when they were teenagers. They were gathered in ICU. I had to create a full circle, hold each other's hands, and ask them, what one word that will describe Theo to you? All of them were crying. All of us were crying. He's authentic.
Where is Theo now? Where is his soul? Like, what happens to the soul after we die?
Theo is huge. Okay, so I've been he used to come to me when he died, like literally standing by the door, because one time I wanted to feel him. So I didn't laundry his clothes, okay? So his sweater, I smelled it. I wore it, and it has a hole in the armpit. And I'm like, oh no, I don't want this. There's a hole in the armpit. I'm not going to wear this. He appeared to me. He's standing by the door. He's playing with his sweater, and he was laughing at me. Mom, you don't want this, huh? There's a hole in the armpit. I'm like, I cried the whole day. I was in nervous breakdown.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So he stopped showing up to me because I'm breakdown. After 6 months, I said, Theo, I'm ready to see you again. You know what he did? In our own community event, I had this sound healer, Colin Hillstrom. I sat in the table of the massage table. Once he struck the chord, I left my body. I was a yellow ray of light, and my Theo was a blue ray of light. His presence was so profound. I know him. He twirled me, he danced with me like blue and yellow ray of light. We were in the universe. And I came back into my body. He showed to me as a blue ray of light, not anymore as Theo. And when I was in Los Angeles, I have a big family there that love Theo. And one time I was in the mall. His music came. Actually, this was a parking lot. The parking lot has a freaking music. And his Drake, Passion Fruit. So I was talking to Raziel. Her name's Raziel. It's like Archangel Raziel. I said, Raziel, that's Theo's music. When he died, I was dancing with the Passion Fruit Drake because we're dancing.
Yeah, I remember watching that and thinking, wow.
Theo was...
Love dancing, right?
Yes. Love dancing. We always dance together, and we're so happy. We laugh so loud. And right before we go to our car, a car in front of us has a plate Theo, T-E, yeah, Theo, and 33.
Amazing.
So I took a picture of the car, and the owner of the car came, and he's like, "Why are you taking a picture of my car?" Right?
Yeah.
And I actually told him about my Theo, and he started crying, like he was so touched. Theo, yeah. So he's alive. So he's present in every healing that I do. He's with me, and he's funny. So he laughs at me and my children. He talks to me. He left me money. It's so funny. I was walking in Los Angeles. So I took all my kids because I retired and I have pension and I have all this money that came I think it was last year. I'm not sure now, 2018, maybe. So I took that, I flew all my children and their partners. So 5 of us went to LA because we have Mason, our second grandchild, who was born July 12th. So I was walking in the street and Theo says, "Mom, don't be shocked." I'm like, what? They will reveal something. But I'm telling you, I did this for love because I know you're not good with money. This is what he said to me.
Okay.
I went inside the Airbnb. My children were waiting for me and says, Mom, we have news for you. And I said, well, I know already.
Oh.
Yeah. He put his will under my son, Tristan, not me. And
Not
they,
intended.
because I'm a spender, right? So they thought I would get pissed off because he lived with me for 33 years free of rent, right? But I wasn't at least angry. I understood he was taking care of me because he knows I will spend the money if I get it, you know? He was just amazing, taking care of me. Even he's physically not here. He will show me the way. Like,
Yeah.
like I went to this car dealership and I'm like, I need to change my car because it's 300,000 kilometers. And I just was there and this Lexus came there and I'm like, is it Lexus or Lexter? I don't know. And I don't even have a clue about these cars, right? And this Theo took care of me, you know?
Yeah.
It's
So
amazing. So, yeah, I go
so
on a time story.
amazing. Yeah. It sounded like even in his will, he was so thoughtful about everything he did, in regards to you
Yes.
specifically.
Oh, he
Yeah.
loves me so much. He loves me so much. Like literally, I saw him as a Lord of Horus. So there was a time because I live dimensionally, like multidimensional. Okay. So people don't know this. We are all multidimensionals, but only when you're awakened and you've done your studies, your work, that you will be uh, being centered in the physical and living multidimensional in the past, present, future. There's no present, future, eternal time. So one time in my household, I had a boyfriend, a Persian guy, Ramin. He's so amazing. He brought me ancient Egypt. He actually built a pyramid and he gave the pyramid to me. So in this incarnation, I've always had a pyramid in my home. Okay. So that time it was only me, Theo, and Ra. Well, I did a multidimensional patterns and it was Goddess Isis, Ra, and Lord Horus. Because Theo will wake up with the third eye, with Horus on his eye, and so he was a mystic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like we're going from death to rebirth.
Right. So I'm curious, like you mentioned earlier that you're not really scared of dying. Like, can you talk a little bit about that? Because we're also scared of dying, right? Death and dying scares all of us, most of us. Um, so tell me a little bit about that. Why are you not scared of it? I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds like I know why. Like you're explaining things to me, like, because we are multidimensional and this
Yeah.
body is, the not the end of us. But
Yeah.
if you were to put it in a nutshell, why are you not scared of dying?
Because I'm able to be free of the suffering of being a human. Because why would I be scared of dying? Because I'm not dying. I'm eternal. Okay, so I live in the soul perception. So everything here is an illusion,
Okay.
is my creation, the ego and the personhood. So the diva spirit co-created this with my higher self. But I live with my higher self, being conscious, living, walking, sleeping with the masters. I literally am with the masters. Like I would go on astral travel. I would be having challenges with reptilian and all this crap. I would be challenged with all this stuff. And Archangel Michael and Metatron just completely snaps it and it becomes white light. The astral becomes white light. So I, even in my own sleep, I am with the masters because I go to the retreat. So I ask the master to take me to the retreat. So for example, Archangel Raziel, and he brought me to Kabbalah. And so like last night, the whole night, I was in and out, studying the the 10 Sephiroth, right? And the Kether and Metatron and the Akash, they're bringing me all this information. So then my mind as a person can download this information and create books. So it really, the books are actually sacred knowledge from the Akash and the souls that come into my readings. So the person is a soul contract of my higher self to listen to the default of the person, and then I find the loopholes and the drain and the hooks and the attachments, and then I put it all together, wrap it all up, and put a ribbon on it, and I pray for his soul to elevate and to be activated in alignment to the higher self of the individual. So that's how I do healing.
I do healing, yeah.
To the soul level. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And what about the pandemic? Like, what would you say that people have hopefully learned from the pandemic? I feel like the pandemic has really highlighted the importance of living your life to the full, like, you know, because it just highlighted death and dying. Like at the beginning, I started this channel because I'm like, we need to talk about death and dying because it's so in our face at the moment. You can't actually not be thinking about it.
Yeah.
What are the lessons do you think the pandemic is teaching us about living and death and dying?
Wow. Well, I had the prophecy on December 7. I was in the temple of the Oracle of Delphi. Actually, the card came today.
Oh, wow.
So the Oracle is the Oracle of Delphi. I was brought in that timeline, and all I see was death. The whole animals kingdom were dead, and I was wearing this robe of white garment, and I was holding a crystal skull. And then suddenly they brought me like this, and then they put this, they pierced my head with steel, like a headdress in the Catholic Catholic Church. There's like saints with headdresses, you know. And my robe became red velvet, and way far beyond me was the voice, beloved, I am returning, I am coming back. And I was holding a lantern, and in that lantern you could see through the golden light. Actually what happened is like the masonry, you know, the golden liquid light of Christ consciousness, creating a symbol of the Freemason. And in that vision, I did a research. So I researched Mary Magdalene, and then the Black Madonna came. And then I tapped into the author reveal, Megan Watterson. And I read the book in one day. I went to Banyan, I took this, all of that, right? And I was able to write a chapter of sleeping with the devil, because that's a chapter from another book that's coming too. I have like 5 books in the ether. Sleeping with the devil is when I saw the devil 3 times in this incarnation with open eyes. So as a mystic, people will probably think, oh, she's crazy, she's seeing devil. But that's what it is. I'm seeing this matrix and this being. So I had that prophecy on December 7th, and I became gung-ho. Like, okay, so I'm a warrior, like Joan of Arc, you know. So when I'm being attacked by the dark force, I become stronger. So I have no fear. I'm courageous. I have fire. I am a Joan of Arc. I just charge, right? So I was teaching angels, you know, since 2014, because I've been with the angels since I was a child. I see angels. I see in my dreams, you know, seraphims, right? So because of that revelation to me, I created a 7-week course called Atlantis Archangels. So since December until February, I was teaching, and on February 7, the number 7 came straight to December 7, and then February 7, I was in Tucson, Arizona. I was visited. So my niece, Marvel, from Los Angeles, we're very close. We went on a crystal trip, right? We went to Tucson, Arizona. It's a gem show. We were, yeah. So we were visited, and we received the messages. Be grounded about coming. Be grounded. Do not lose your mind. Work. There's like 10 messages. Like I asked Marvel to write down these messages. So I knew there was something off. By March, I was pulled again. I spent 17 days in Waianae, Hawaii, paradise. I walked barefoot for 17 days in Mount Lahi Lahi. It was a sacred mountain. And our condominium, Debbie Magson, was one of my girlfriends. I was brought to Lemuria. It's an ancient civilization of humanity.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I have 55 chapters that I wrote about fear and illusion.
Wow.
And then I wrote 10 more chapters, and I created the book, Collective Awakening, which is really this one.
Yeah. Wow. So that book came out of all the work you were doing
for
earlier.
2 years.
Yeah. And so in regards to that book, tell us a little bit about when it's going to be available.
I have a feeling it's end of November. It's actually, I'm waiting for mandalas. So I have this beautiful cousin. She's only 20 years old. She did actually the mandalas in Ions of Manifestation when she was 8.
Yeah.
And Patricia is a law student.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, she's only 18, and she gifts me with her mandala. And so she's doing the mandalas for the book, right? It's so beautiful when
Gorgeous.
Yeah, such a pure angel, this girl. So my work, I scan the people that works with me. Like I truly just choose people that work with me, because it has to come from a pure intention. Yeah, and everything that I create is pure intention, because I know the law of karma exists, the law of cause and effect. So we are run by the universal laws, and people are not aware of that universal law. So when you keep repeating the same pattern, you keep coming back to the karmic earth school. So then you cannot ascend fully into your true essence with the source and the masters of light, because you are in the underworld. You're being grabbed by the attachments, by the material, the physical, the astral. All of this dimension is the earth school, which is we come here to learn a lesson, to co-create, to create a beautiful mandala of the higher consciousness and the universe and the cosmos. So we are so huge galactically, and our technology, we're recreating Atlantis time right now. And so the Atlantean ancestors are here. They're revealing to us how we can create the sacred geometrical patterns of existence without being distracted with the noise and the chaos and the virus of corona. Corona is actually your crown. So corona is a crown chakra activation. Yeah, because people are so dense that they've created so much greed, chaos, because in the times of Lemuria, we are unified, harmony, peaceful, collaborating. There's no money. Money is an expression of value. But the corruption, right? The corruption of the government, the banking system, all of this is not in alignment to the higher perspective of the masters. So in the human condition, we're like an experiment. We have all this DNA, right? The reptilian brain that we have. All of this is in the creation time. So the Elohims, the prime creators, are here with us to reevaluate. So the thousands of people that are dying, the millions of people that are infected, is like dying to your old self, where there is like 3 trillion of cells that are hooked in the low vibration of fear, the low vibration of grief, the low vibration of worries, pain, suffering, and lack of money. All of that low vibration is not real, because the vibration, the true essence is huge, expansive, galactic, amazing, joy, peace, all these virtues. We have that 12-strand DNA in Atlantis time. So all these masters are now beaming light into our light body in the 2 helix. So then it could have a 12-strand DNA. So then we can be living multidimensionally in different hues and rays of light. So we can be more useful for the evolution of consciousness. So we are all here being guided, protected, safe. We are so safe, because what if I die in my sleep, right? There is no permanency in this physical. So while you're awake, help yourself to be conscious of your intention. Is my intention for the highest good of that being? My thoughts, am I creating negative thoughts about the other person? Am I judging? Am I criticizing? Am I doing that to my own self? So the virus wakes up the whole humanity, the whole collective, in order to bring us back to eternal essence. But it is hard to perceive when someone lost a child who died of COVID, and this parent would be consumed by grief and sadness and pain and anger and all that crap, right? Because the parent has to be in a higher perspective, in the sacred contract of the why things happen, why things do not happen, right?
Yeah. Well, it's so deep. I don't even know. I'll have to watch this myself.
I know.
Because you've just taken us down a path
I was shocked.
of wanting to learn more and more.
Mm.
So, yeah, is there any last thoughts or words that you want to share around death and dying before we get cut off?
Yeah, I feel like death and dying is dying to yourself. Every day we die.
Yeah.
When we think this way, then we're so happy that when we sleep at night. So I do an evaluation at night if I did everything in integrity,
Mm-hmm.
and in calm, gentle manner, in kindness. When I do healing, I pray for the soul to bring them light and really help them, have
Mm-hmm.
mercy on their soul, because they're of their ignorance, right? So die to yourself every day.
Be aware that before you go to bed, you do a practice where you're like, I'm dying to myself, and how was my day? Is that
Yeah,
something you do? Yeah.
I do that every day, even every moment, to die to the ego, right?
Right.
And no There is no fear. That's an illusion itself.
Fear is an
So
illusion.
we can even talk deeply why is it an illusion, right? Because it's so deep that people needs to be shifting their consciousness to know that like some people are in deep fear and illusion and chaos about COVID because that's their dimension, that's their vibration. It doesn't mean that I'm not a part of this COVID, because I am a part of this collective, but I don't live in that dimension. I live in fantasy. I live with the pyramid and Gaia sitting in the pyramid.
Wow.
So I live in a vibration of paradise, like just really co-creating everything with love. So death and dying is like really, we don't die, we're eternal. So live with your true essence. So then you don't have any fear of dying, because we are, oh, okay. Bhagavad Gita helped me. Bhagavad Gita, when Theo died, I have this oracle card that Carla gave me, and it says, when we are born, death is certain. When we die, rebirth is certain. So why are you lamenting?
Mm-hmm.
It is a fact. So it touched me
Yeah.
to wisdom. It brought me wisdom that
Yeah.
this is a part of our life. We die when we are born. We're born and we die. And when we die, we are rebirthing to a new eternal dimension. And so why are we grieving? Why are we lamenting when it is a fact of life? So living fully, really fully to that.
Let's think about death and dying every day so that it does bring us back to that place of living with integrity, living your life in a way that is maybe of service, and knowing that, you know, if I find that when I think about death and dying, I make different choices and better choices.
Yes.
Death is like in the forefront, and I'm thinking, you know what, like anything that happens in the day, I'm like, well, you know what? Life is short. I'm gonna die. Does this matter? You know, does this matter? Am I gonna let it affect me? I simplify like my
Mm-hmm.
life that way, and so I think that whole taking stock at night about your death and dying is also really a really good practice to have. And I feel like the more I think about death and dying, and the more I think about it every day, every moment, things just don't seem to bother me as much. But when I'm out
Yeah.
of that space where I'm thinking like I'm going to live forever and I'm in the ego, that's when I'm in the ego. And then that's when my vibration kind of gets lowered down. So, um, thank you for talking to us about death and dying, and also like opening up so many different ways to go, because I feel like you've just opened up like a can of worms now for us to like to explore all the learnings you've had. And I would encourage people to get your books to learn a lot more. You've written 5 books so far.
I'm not sure. I think only 4, because the other book they took it back.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I would suggest that if you're really interested in learning more about the Akash and all the things Teza talked about, like follow her on Facebook. She has lots of courses that she offers about the archangels coming up, the Akashic records,
Mm.
and pick up her books. They're available on Amazon and at Banyan Books. And where else
Yes.
is it available?
Oh, Bella's Miracle Shop. It's Whitby's everywhere. Actually, Top Spirit. But
Yeah,
I actually need to reorder because they sold out.
there you go. She's a best-selling, sold-out author. And I love your books. I mean, one of them has been quite life-changing for me. So in the next little segment, we're going to talk about her book, The Collective Awakening. So stay tuned and we'll be back. Thank you, Teza.
Thank you so much.